Hi everyone, I'm Bob the Drag Queen.
I'm Peppermint.
And we're having a conversation today that has some really, can have some very triggering language. We do discuss unaliving, we discuss sexual assault and violence, and specifically violence toward trans people. So this is your warning. Please take care of yourself. And if that's too much for you, then we'll see you in the next video. Now, you were telling me about this Caitlyn Jenner thing. What was this? Should I just watch it, or do I need a disclaimer?
Caitlyn, you talk about, in your own words, that female sport, women's sport, was sort of under assault or under threat from trans issues. That has been a subject right in the headlines recently. Our own sports secretary, Nadine Dorries, has talked about it. It says elite sport should be reserved for people born of female sex. Is that something you agree with?
Yes, I've been from the beginning. We had a situation, as you probably know, Leah Thomas in swimming in the NCAA. And I was highly criticized, boy, was I, because they didn't take the side of the trans community. Because you can just look at it. I'm a common sense person. I believe in fairness. And it just wasn't fair for her to be able to compete with the women. 6'4", big hands, cardiovascular system, the list goes on and on and on. And it wasn't fair. And I came out from the beginning that I don't want biological boys, meaning boys that have been through women that have been through male puberty. I don't think they should be able to compete against women. They just have too much of advantage. It's just not fair. So recently, there was a ruling.
She's doing backflips to try to kind of have both sides here, that she's using Leah Thomas's pronouns, that's calling her, but saying male puberty and like flipping and tripping
biological boys. It seems very strange. This
it's a bizarre thing. But wait, I just want to make just really quickly.
Was there another part I can say?
Yeah, there's a little bit more.
By the International Organization for Swimming, saying that they could not compete. A Leah Thomas person could not compete. The only way they could is if they went, if they started their transition before the age of 12. Sometimes you can argue, is that too early or whatever, but what science has shown, that going through male puberty, is a huge advantage to go through.
Now, if taking that alone, then why wouldn't you want trans kids to be able to go through their medical transition when they're younger?
Well, to be able to disadvantage them. I mean,
clearly,
it seems like the people who are on that side of the conversation are so interested in, I don't even know how to say this. It's like, I think my one question is like, what do you think it is? What do you think their goal is? Do you think it really is to protect women in sports? Like, is it really? I mean, people, not to reduce it, but like if protecting kids is super important, and if you had to think about what was causing kids more harm, trans girls playing basketball or people in schools with guns, you would think that if you were genuinely worried about protecting kids, your main line of defense wouldn't be trans girls playing basketball. If you thought about, if your main thing was truly protecting kids, you would think that your main thing would not be, it might be talking about mental health with our young kids and what they have to go through and what the trans kids have to go through. And are trans kids not kids? Is their safety important?
So what conclusion do you come to? It's pretty simple. It sounds pretty simple. If your main point was wanting to protect kids, really, from harm, then would you not talk about gun violence and the other things that physically harm these kids? Because that's not their main point. That's not their main point. Just like a lot of these feminists who are trans exclusionary, they are radical feminists, allegedly, an offshoot of radical feminism, which is a real, wave of feminism, is on their entire agenda basically on their websites is the only thing we care about in this world is stopping transgender women from being included in women's things. That's it. Anything else that affects women whether it's, Roe v. Wade. We're not talking about that. We don't have anything to do with it. In fact, we will help the people who are targeting Roe v. Wade as long as they allow us to discriminate against trans women. That is what happened in England. There's a Heritage Foundation or something, one of these groups that is like notoriously anti-women's issues, anti-equality, pregnancy rights, anything that women have, the women's movement has been trying to advance for the past 20 years. This organization has been against. And these TERFs are officially aligned. They are officially partnered with them and go out on speaking tours with them and talk about women should not be able to do this. Now here's a woman who has something to say. And her only thing is, we should not be working with trans women are bad. That's it. She has nothing to say about any of that other stuff. Why is J.K. Rowling not speaking out with the Roe v. Wade decision?
I mean, I try to stop paying attention to J.K. Rowling.
I stopped paying attention to her, so she may have, but she doesn't seem. The only women's issue that J.K. Rowling seems to be riled up about is trans folks. That's it.
And I don't even know what J.K. Rowling is even, because J.K. Rowling, she's not talking about sports or bathrooms or anything. She's just talking about just the
the idea that trans women are women.
Just the idea that trans women are women, just the fact that they exist is just somehow upsetting to her on a visceral level, which does not make a ton of sense to me.
The TERF ideology is strictly predicated in the notion, the thought that women are born oppressed and that they are oppressed by all men, just by nature of being alive as women or men. And men are oppressors no matter what. And in their mind, transgender women are men who they say are co-opting womanhood, and the act of appearing to be women or going through surgeries to be women, they call it mutilating. They won't even refer to it as surgery. And then they will say that you are just performing violence unto women. You are raping women by being a trans woman. That's what they're saying. Yeah, there's a lot, but that's their language that they're using.
Well, they use intentionally antagonistic language, like what's the word that you said before? Not that you said there's one like really intense buzzword you just use that they use, mutilation. That's what it is, and but obviously they don't use terms like that for anyone else getting surgery. They do not use terms like that for anyone else out there who is getting a boob job. If you get a boob job and you're a cis woman, it's not mutilation.
Well, they do say that trans men are mutilating themselves.
Well, because it's trans people.
Yeah.
They don't think that tattoos or any other surgery, any other kind of thing like that is mutilation. It's only when it refers to trans people, then it's mutilation. But anyway.
Yes. But the other issue that these TERFs are doing is that they're completely ignoring all the other issues that are women's issues and that women have been talking about for years. And I just think it's just really telling. I watched, I don't know if it was with you, it wasn't with you. There is on, not the Young Turks, I think the Majority Report, which is a sort of progressive news outlet, talking show on the internet. And they highlighted how, I can't remember his name, gotta find it. They highlighted how their talking points of these trans exclusionary radical feminists have been now taken by people like Matt Walsh and used against trans folks. And there was a Twitter exchange with one woman who was accusing, not Matt Walsh, there's another guy who's been on Fox many times as a contributor, because he made a statement about trans folks and not wanting to include them in the different things in sports and the bathrooms and all the things. And so she was like, hey, you should just know. He was like, buy my book and whatever. He's making money off of this notion. Mm-hmm. And he's actually the person who was the architect behind attacking critical race theory. Can't remember his name, but
what is this guy?
But wait, I know, but so he moved on from critical race theory because he achieved what he wanted, and now he's moving on to the trans community. And so it's a grift, and he's making money off of this and selling this and all this thing. And so this woman is like, "Excuse me, you're making money off of the hard work, or the work." I think it's insidious work, but the work of women who have been saying this for years. The trans exclusionary radical feminists. These feminists have been working hard saying this, that trans women are basically bad for years. And here you are coming through and you just take our work and you're making money off of it. And, it'd be great if you could follow and share me as a woman and a feminist. And if you agree with this notion and you want to help feminism. And he actually said, I am not concerned. His response in the thread was, I am not concerned with feminism in any way, shape, or form. And I don't care what you have to say. I'm going to use what I want to use. Now, she was right. But it just goes to show you that these women they're aligning themselves with people who are actually anti-women and for the sake of attacking trans folks, when in reality, trans folks working hard to be included really does help everyone. That's my opinion.
I think that's a proper opinion, and I do think that because the people who are anti-trans are so loud, it really can feel like they're the majority sometimes, but I really don't.
They're not. I don't think that
they're just really loud.
They're very influential.
When you're in a room with 20 people and one of them wants to attack you, but the other 18 people are not stopping that one person.
Why didn't you say you could be in a room
with 100 people? But if you're in a room with 20 people and one of them trying to attack you, and then the other 18 are doing nothing to stop it, then it feels like there's 19 people in the room against you.
Mm-hmm. It does.
All right, Pep, we had another little chat.
It was a chat, and this issue is not going anywhere, especially considering that the midterms are coming up. What I do think is really important for people to do is please, please, please register to vote. Make sure you research who in your local city and state government is going to be running and is up for re-election, and because there's a lot of things we have to solve, and voting is not the quick answer to everything, but I do think it's important to be involved.
It's an important step.
It's a very important step.
And we saw in this last election that mail-in voting, by the way, anyone who's wondering, mail-in voting did not just become available in 2020 because of the coronavirus. It has always been an option. As someone who travels a lot, I have been mail-in voting for years now. I have not been to a poll in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Mail-in voting is still an option for you. It is very easy. It takes so much weight off of you as a person when you have to vote. It can make election day where you can just sit back and observe. Voting early and mail-in voting is an option. In my opinion, it is a lot easier than going to the poll. To the polls, obviously, a one-day mailing system is based in a lot of is archaic. In my opinion, voting should be more than a day.
One-day voting is that?
Yeah, one-day voting is archaic, and it is really based on people who have the ability and the privilege to take a day off, or to not have to work this day, or blah, 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 or don't have kids and that and the other. But you get to engage in democracy. You can do it through the mail. You can do it in your own time.
So
still within a time frame. I mean, but not just your...
But go ahead to the website, check it out. A lot of, jurisdictions have like sort of online tools to make it a little bit easier in terms of educating yourself about what the issues that you might care about and the different things. At least in my area, they do.
Google how to vote by mail and type in your city name.
Super easy. So please vote. And, if you can, try your best. I mean, we might be speaking to the choir, to people who are watching this here, but certainly there must be someone who's watching this video who doesn't really have that much experience with trans folks, since 80% of people, according to a poll, say that they've never met someone who's trans.
Send this to your curious aunt.
Yeah, and find other resources, and just please, lead with empathy and inclusion. If you can bring yourself to lead with empathy and inclusion, then it won't be so important for you to really just define what a woman is by one definition. If your definition includes all types of people, shades, shapes, colors, and identities, then you're probably being inclusive. But if it leaves out certain groups in favor of one or the other, then it's probably a more outdated way to look at things.
I would love for someone to make a rebuttal called "This Is a Woman" and have it be like a trans person doing the exact same thing, but in reverse to rebut the entire film.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, thank you all for joining us.
Bye.